Well, good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I have an awesome guest today. He is the president of the Maryland Off-Highway Vehicle Alliance. He's been the president for 2 years now. He has a wealth of information to share with us, and he and other members are working very, very hard to help represent the sport growing there in the Maryland area. So, without further ado, James Ratino, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Sean.
Hey,
James.
no, that's all right. No problem. Hey, I really appreciate your time. You're doing a lot of hard work and, reaching out to all the right people, down there and such, and just really want to talk about what you're doing.
Yeah, so Maryland, we've had some issues in the past, and I'm sure a lot of states on the East Coast have had this issues in particular where the state hasn't been interested in ORV activities, OHV. It's kind of been more one of those things that they know exist, but they're not really interested in catering to our group. And probably about 5 to 10 years ago, they really shut down the last of the remaining actual places worth going. And the previous president, who I was riding friends with, kind of got this thing going. Was like, no, we need to change that. We have land, we have the user group, we have the interest, and really started laying the groundwork to where we are today, which is from where we were phenomenally different, and very proud of that.
That's awesome. I mean, really, it's really commendable because it's not easy because people don't realize how much work goes on in the background just to make just the smallest change in the world. It just takes really literally an act of Congress. And
it really did.
yeah.
For our case in Maryland, we had an issue where they're like, we would make you trails, but we don't have any funding. So, kind of sorry, out of luck, guys. So we had to go to the state legislature and get a law change so that half of our titling taxes go to create trails. And that's really the only way we were able to get any ground to stand on and actually get some of the progress we have today.
Yeah. And, by people getting involved in helping you out with that, it just every little bit helps. And that's great. So, so what are you currently riding right now?
So I ride dirt bikes. Dirt bikes are my main mode of OHV. Just literally last Friday, picked up a new 2021 YZ250 FX. So I'm super excited about that. That's my first bike. I mean, last bike I had is probably, I think, 15 years old now. So a nice new upgrade, been working hard for. So super excited about that one.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's the difference in technology between then and now, just a whole different ride. Absolutely. So congratulations on that. That's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's very cool. What was your first dirt bike experience? How did you first get into the sport?
Yeah, so my dad rides. He still rides to this day. He's still one of the faster guys I'll go out with. But he started me riding probably about 8-10 years old, somewhere around there. Started on an XR80. Busted my knee open, ended up having to get stitches on like my second ride ever. So that put the fear of God in me pretty good there for the first couple of years getting on the bikes. But he kept taking me out and pushing me, and been riding ever since. That's, I guess, 20 some years ago now.
Wow, yeah, it goes by in a blink. It's funny, we all started out on an XR80.
Yeah, that or a PW50.
You're right. Yeah, I never had. I had a cousin who had one, and I just never had the opportunity to ride it. So it just, but yeah, my XR80 was my first bike that I ever rode. A friend of mine, backyard and such.
Too funny.
Yeah. Now I understand you traveled around, riding bikes and so forth. Where else have you ridden, and what was the best place you've ever been?
Yeah, so that's a pretty good question. And Maryland, we're pretty limited on stuff unless you know somebody or had some land. So for most people, Maryland, we travel out of state to go riding. Done a lot up in Pennsylvania. It's called Famous Reading Outdoors. Recently changed their name. Used to be something else, Anthracite-ish. Been there. There's really good riding there. Mountain Ridge in Pennsylvania is good. Been down to Brushy in North Carolina, Brown Mountain down there. That was a lot of fun. A little spoiled. My family has some land out in Western Maryland, out in the mountains, and to be honest, that's some of the best riding that I've ever done. I can't complain whenever I go out there, for sure.
That's cool. Very cool. Um, what is, so when someone comes down to Maryland with what you're doing and everything down there, what does someone need to do in order to come ride in Maryland that might be a little bit different from somewhere else?
So Maryland is really kind of new getting into the game again as far as how they're policing things, how their policies are developed. But there's only one state park. There's a couple state forest trails, but there's only one state park that's actually a trail system. About 45 miles of trails, camping. It's pretty good setup for just getting started into it. But the process for that is you have to go online, you have to register your vehicle, you're going to need your serial number, that kind of stuff. It's $10. It's really quick. They'll give you a printout on the spot. They'll also ship you a sticker in the mail. But you don't really need it. That's the easiest way in case you get pulled over. You have the sticker as opposed to having to pull out a piece of paper. But to go riding for the day, for out-of-staters, it's $12 for a day pass, and for in-state people, it's $10. And if for whatever reason you want to make it a regular thing, say you live, I don't know, 45 minutes away, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, etc., where the drive out there is worth it for you. I think the annual pass is $75. Gets you and 4 people in, basically anytime you want to go.
That's not bad, really. I mean, considering for use of the space, and that $75 gets spent really fast for carrying the park. So that's cool. Now, are there any like strange like helmet or safety laws for Maryland that people might be unaware of?
So the only one that might be a little unique to Maryland, and I know most places do enforce it, is helmets for side-by-sides. So a lot of people don't always wear them because the manufacturers don't always recommend it, but they just kind of defaulted to best practices. And, some manufacturers did recommend it. So that's what they went with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I tell you, I had a side-by-side, a YXZ 1000, and awesome unit, man. That thing was a rape date, and I could ride that like there's no tomorrow. But I was in a pit, and I basically ended up, something happened, long story short, and I ended up rolling it at 65 miles an hour.
Oh man.
And if I was not wearing a helmet, I would not be talking to you right now, because literally the roll cage crushed in and created a point right here, and my head bounced right off of it. So the difference between me being airlifted off to, somewhere else versus walking away saying, wow, that was a crazy ride, was, that helmet. So
yeah, that's insane, man. That's very fortunate that was able to be there for you. It's really sad when you hear stories going the other direction from some people not doing that.
Right. Yeah. And it takes a blink, just a blink, something you don't expect, a part breaks or whatever. And that what you trust doesn't work the way you're used to having it work.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm a huge advocate for helmets, even though it looks a little funny inside of.
Sorry, I got some dogs jumping around underneath my table. They're kicking it right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's all right.
Sorry about the camera.
It happens. It's part of the environment that we live in these days.
Yeah, they get used to crawling underneath the legs whenever you're in a conference call, and they don't like to go away.
Right. Yeah, sure. So now you're able to ride on some of the roads there in Maryland, right? What are some of the rules for that?
Yeah, so we got pretty lucky a couple of years ago. They passed some laws to allow 4-wheel OHV vehicles to be registered in Allegheny and Garrett County to be ridden down the road. It's a county permit. It's not a state permit. They have their own specific requirements for it, but the permit's like $20. You get a ride on county roads, not state roads. However, you can cross a state road.
Okay.
Limited to 2 miles of legal road access, and towns and municipalities can say, hey, we don't want you riding in our town. I think of all the towns, I think there's less than like 5 in those 2 counties that said, no, we don't want this. So, it's pretty popular out there as far as, public opinion for it.
Right. Yeah. And I know you're working on hopefully improving that in time and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
We're working pretty hard. One of the things we're trying to get past is adding dirt bikes to the list. Currently, because dirt bikes don't have four wheels, you're not allowed to do it. So we're hoping that gets changed. Speaking with the guys who wrote the law, they were just like, oh, oops, forgot to include that. So wasn't intentional, wasn't left off on purpose. And now it's just kind of an administrative thing, going back, getting that fixed. And at the same time, increasing the mileage just a little bit from 2 to 5 miles, which will come in handy out at Wolf Den Run State Park. If anybody, you guys go out there, so you're going to be able to enjoy that 5 miles better than the 2. I'll put it that way.
Right. Well, cool. Very cool. That's awesome. What's the speed limit on the roads and stuff when you're on them? I mean, I'm sure they're pretty strict about that too.
Yeah, so they're pretty good out there as far as not over policing it, if you will, but they do want you to follow their rules, which is, I think it's 25 miles an hour is roughly the speed limit they enforce for that, and they want you to hug the shoulder. They do want you on the road, not riding off the road, and not taking up the entirety of the lane. So if someone wants to pass you, they still have that opportunity.
Okay, that makes sense. So, yeah, fair enough. Great. Let's see. Kind of already touched on it, but talked about the increase in mileage and stuff, which is awesome. I mean, it will make a big difference because with that increased mileage, correct me if I'm wrong, you're able to get to maybe connect more trail systems and spread out the amount of riders riding in a bigger area this way, and rather than having to trailer up, and really takes away from the sport all in all.
Exactly. One of the things we're trying to do as this grows, the only way it grows is through popularity. But as it becomes more popular, this region of Maryland has the ability to get more trails. And the best way to do that would be able to interconnect and link properties together. And the only way you can do that is by riding down or across roads. And you got to come up with a legal way to do it. And this is that missing piece of the puzzle.
Right. That'll be a monumental. I mean, you guys are, like I said, you're doing great work. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, really, it just takes time and, concerted effort, and really people need to get involved and help you out, and more people, paying for their, registrations and so forth. So now that you got that, half of that money going towards trail systems being made and such. But so out of what you've seen and with what you've done, is there anything on your bucket list of a place that you would love to be able to go to and ride one day that you heard of out there?
Oh man, that's a long list right there. It's not even just one place. It's anywhere that I can put my 2 wheels down, and if I can, I'll borrow a 4-wheeler, rent a 4-wheeler, etc. I mean, I don't think my wife and I have done it a vacation in the last 2 years when I haven't tried to figure out how to rent a dirt bike or go on a side-by-side tour or something. So, it's anywhere. Out west, love to hit some of the epic Colorado single track or Idaho, or, they do some European tours that are apparently pretty awesome. I know some guys that were planning on doing that till COVID hit, and man, they were telling me about it, and I was just salivating like, man, I gotta go one of these days. So anywhere that's a good ride, man, I want to be there.
That's cool. Very cool. Well, how can people get involved? How can they help you out down there, and get in touch with you, and what's the best way to get things moving?
Yes, that's a good question. We're on Facebook. You can follow us, like us, that kind of stuff. It's Maryland OHV Alliance. Okay. We have a website, MarylandOHVAlliance.org. You can go ahead and get on there, become a paying member. That helps. That money, we're not paid. We're all volunteers. I spend a lot of time on this stuff. And one of the things that help us out a lot is the ability to help fill in whenever DNR needs a little bit of help. We've helped them in the past.
Yeah.
With some feasibility studies, some mapping, that kind of stuff. So the money does go towards stuff. It doesn't just sit in my pocket. It also pays for lunch days. So, we do volunteer days out there. So you get your name on the list. And, with COVID, surprisingly, we've had some pretty good turnouts. We've hit the limit that DNR said we're allowed to hit every single time, which has been phenomenal. They love it. We love it. And then when they show up, we can provide them a hot lunch, and that makes everyone really happy.
Oh yeah. I'll be there. Just feed me.
Exactly.
Oh, very cool. Well, James, I really appreciate your time with you today. And I hope that, I just can't wish you much more success down the road as you keep moving forward And I know Maryland you're going to really put it on the map. And I look forward to seeing that day. We'll have to celebrate it.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to come down and ride with us, just let us know and we'll get that set up and we'll have a great time out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll put it on the calendar. Well, depending on what all this COVID stuff, releases and who knows, but all in all, we'll get it done.
Excellent.
Awesome.